The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is suggesting that the Monetary Authority considers another devaluation of the Naira to the dollar exchange rate, as a greater exchange rate flexibility could help cushion external shocks. While the press release is broadly supportive of the federal government's policy stance on the closure of the RDAs and the Senate's 2015 budget proposal, including the $52 per barrel oil price benchmark. Well, joining me on the News at 10 to look at this very troubling situation is an economist, Mr. Ayo Teriba. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the News at 10.
Good evening.
Does it surprise you that a suggestion such as this has been made by the IMF?
Right. Reading the text of the IMF release, they encouraged continued flexibility of the exchange rate. And that doesn't amount to calling for additional devaluation. Devaluation is not a happy news for anybody within Nigeria. The devaluation had already taken place. It's taken place twice. All that the IMF seemed to be saying is that they support the merger of the different rates, where you had different segments in the market, and they encourage continued flexibility. So I did not see the statement as asking for another round of devaluation.
What does this mean to you then? How does this affect the economy?
Well, there had been pressures on the foreign exchange market in the second half of last year, following the decline in oil price and the outflow of capital towards the end of the year. So you had disequilibrium in the foreign exchange market in which the demand exceeded the supply, and you needed to let the price adjust. So the movements in the exchange rates that had occurred end of last year, beginning of this year, were inevitable, given the realities that the global environment had presented to Nigeria. And I would also commend the steps taken by the Central Bank of Nigeria late in the year and early this year. And now that the Central Bank had summed up the courage to merge the different segments of the market, I will similarly encourage them to maintain that merger. Do not return to a situation where the Central Bank subsidizes, some buyers.
Looking ahead now,
not
do you
others.
see the Naira still having some recovery in the days and weeks and months to come?
Well, from what we've seen on oil prices in the last month, we've seen an end to the decline. We've seen some recovery. If that recovery continues, you should expect an improvement in the external reserve situation, and you should expect an improvement in the supply situation of foreign exchange, and therefore you should expect to see more stable Naira exchange rate. So we shouldn't project the worries of the year end and the beginning of the year into the rest of the year. So I do think that we might see a more stable Naira going forward.
I want to thank you so much indeed, Mr. Ayo Teriba, an economist, for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks indeed.
Welcome to Business News. The International Finance Corporation, IFC, in collaboration with the World Bank, has launched an affordable power program that will help complement the ongoing drive to provide stable electricity for Nigerians. Now, through its Lighting Africa initiative and Nigeria's private sector, over 70 Nigerians in the rural areas are expected to be reached with the off-grid renewable energy scheme. Our business correspondent, Tempo Ashajo, reports.
The Lighten Africa program is the brainchild of the International Finance Corporation, IFC, and the World Bank Group. It's a program that provides an off-grid solar energy-based solution to Nigeria's quest for power. At this launch of the initiative, the Ministry of Power endorses the scheme.
We have largely about 70% of Nigerians living in rural areas. Many of them will not have electricity in the next 20 to 25 years. Why? Because of the long distance from the grid. And that is why the only thing we can do presently is this off-grid system.
And speaking on the core essence of the initiative, the IFC says more than 70 million Nigerians in the rural area are the key targets.
The off-grid solution that Lighting Africa is focusing on is to take these people at the bottom of the energy value chain who don't need huge energy. The basic thing they need is to provide lighting for them, for themselves.
The range of services that they can provide is increasing. And so for us, Nigeria, with about 78 million people not connected to the grid, represents an attractive market for them to be able to take up these products and have the benefit of better energy access.
We have spent a considerable amount of time and money supporting gas production, supporting generation companies in Nigeria. So we want to be sure that at least those who are not connected and not benefiting from those interventions have an opportunity to also benefit from something like this.
The alternative energy market in Nigeria is viable, and the private sector appears set to tap into the opportunity.
It also attempts to meet the environmental challenges that emission of carbon monoxide from those candles could mean. I mean, it actually pollutes the air. So with the solar-powered lamps, it's kind of takes care of that.
IFC's Lighting Africa initiative kicked off in 2007 with pilot programs in Ghana and Kenya. It currently gives clean energy access to over 28 million households in the continent. Temple Ashaju, Channels Business News.
Well, trading activities at the Nigerian stock market increased in volume as 528.86 million shares worth 5.29 billion naira were exchanged by investors in 4,955 deals. Similarly, Anne Nwawodu reports that key indicators continued their north trajectory today.
Hello, welcome to the Stock Market Report. I am Anne Nwawodu. Equities continued to yield positive trend that opened the week as investors buy into the support level of stocks in the oil and gas and also the industrial sector. With an appreciable margin of 0.51%, the all-share index closed uptick at 31,355.28 as the market capitalization added more value to end at 10.46 trillion naira. Corn oil and Nigerian breweries added more than 1 naira each to their share price as Guarantee Trust Bank gained 99 kobo. Mobil was on the top decliners row as investors shaved 3 naira off the equity. It's trailed by Better Glass and ETI. The top volume drivers for the day were FBN Holdings, Diamond Bank and FCMB. In all, 528.86 million shares were traded in 4,955 deals and valued at 5.29 billion naira. That's it on the Stock Market Report. I am Anne Nwawodu.
Thank you, Anne. The management of Erisco Foods Limited, makers of Rigjiko tomato paste, say they remain committed to providing Nigerians with the best tomato paste that meets with international standards. While the managing director of the company, Chief Eric Omelfia, in an interactive session with newsmen, said importation of tomato paste should be regulated to avoid fake products hitting the market.
The meeting with the press in this room was one of grave concern, one that borders on the health of Nigerians. The revelations were shocking when the managing director of Erisco Foods Limited decried the infiltration of substandard tomato paste into the country.
The cost of manufacturing here is higher. We have our own power, our own water, everything is done by us. Yet, the China government give their people subsidy of up to 17.5% to dump in this country.
The health hazards, he says, are many, as they are unsuspecting in a market space that imports 91.1% of harmful tomato paste, seen littering every market and streets. This, he says, is backed by NAFDAC, who carried out a test on imported tomato paste for cooking against Rick Gicco, the brand they encourage Nigerians to patronize for its goodness.
From the one we established this factory, we are very, very conscious of our people, of our health. And we know that today is going to be like this because we stick to the standard.
The Arisco Foods team went further to illustrate what it means when it says, buy locally made tomato canned paste to safeguard life. Illustration was precise. One can from the US, another from South Africa, and one from China, and one Rick Gicco.
What they do now is that if there was 5 companies or 10 companies that are producing, so that other companies will come and join them to meet the national standard, they will make sure the 5 are closed down. Because if you don't make progress, how much you meet national demand? So countries like Angola, strike them. We don't need you. This is banned. People will come and join and grow the economy.
In all these, they say the future for the brand is bright if Nigerians own up to buying made in Nigeria products.
The future is very, very bright for Arisco Foods Limited because of our product, which is #1 now, because of the quality, is 100% natural.
Efforts to stop the importation of substandard products into the country by the Standards Organization of Nigeria have been hampered by the porous nature of the borders, making it difficult to catch the culprits. Experts believe the government must double efforts to secure the borders and ports to protect Nigerians from harmful products in a campaign for a healthy life.
Well, that's it on Business News. The rest of the news at 10 continues in just a moment.
First Bank. You first.
Well, the International Women's Day has been marked since 1911, but this is the first time the University of Lagos Women's Society will be celebrating it. Well, this year's event, tagged Make It Happen, comes as a double ceremony with the bestowal of awards on women who have excelled in their fields of endeavor. Our correspondent, Mary Alele Yusuf, now reports.
It's a gathering of joyous women with a sprinkling of men in the Julius Berger Auditorium at the University of Lagos. The chairman of the occasion, the CEO of Omatech Computers, urges women in high positions to do more to help their younger counterparts maintain good ethics and add value to their society, while the guest speaker takes the stand with a passionate appeal to women as they advance in their careers not to neglect the home front.
These are very hardworking women. They had gone through all the rudiments and the values. And when I say values, one is ethics. How many of our young women today still know what ethics means?
Charity does begin at home. We no longer want a situation where a woman will be appointed a minister and her son is a cultist or peddling drugs. We're tired of situations where many of our highly placed women in the society do not have settled homes.
The event is spiced with lots of fun and jokes from the MC.
It's people like you that don't allow America to give us visa. When they see teen people, they look at you, they say there's poverty in Nigeria, oh God. When they see people like me at the U.S. Embassy, they look at me, they say Nigeria is doing well.
Then the high point of the occasion comes as awards are presented to 3 very accomplished women. Emeritus Professor of Medicine, Yetunde Olumide, multi-award winning literary giant, Professor Akachi Ezigbo, and the first female registrar of UNILAG, Mrs. Folashade Olumide. The special guest of honor, the Vice Chairman of Channels Television, Mrs. Olushola Momo, was represented by Channels Senior Presenter, Amarachi Ubani, who heartily congratulates the awardees.
I'm glad that women are being appreciated and are being recognized. And I want the men to know that we're not trying to take the position of leadership from them. Every woman just has a dream. Every woman just has an aspiration. And that is God-given. And I think that whether you're a woman or you're a man, your responsibility is to make that happen.
The panelists agree that though the woman is perceived as the weaker sex, it is not at the level of her intelligence, but they have encouraged older women to help the younger ones realize their dreams. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Next on the news at 10, 32 primary schools to slug it out in Lagos preliminaries of the Channels National Kids Cup. That's in sports news. Do stay with us.